This is 4 decades of work, and some of it has been wrapped and stored for 3 of those decades. So seeing it is a surprise how things have moved on from 1991 or 94. And there is, of course, a through line in terms of an approach. It's heartening to find a sense of connection, that one didn't fall off a cliff and continue to push forward. Some of the earlier works in the show are really almost directly out of working with clay slabs. We would make clay slabs on a canvas board with some raised edges and use a wire to pull the excess clay off. I kind of endeavored in some of the early paintings to replicate some of that, so I would have like a built-up field of paint that I could then manipulate and work with. That immediately changed up into pushing the paint around. I never had a brush painter phase. I was not a brush painter. As the materials changed, as more and more things became available, I included them. I started using them and investigating them and pushing them around. Literally, so much of it is pushing things around and seeing what happens, or scraping through it, or carving at it. If you try to push beyond what you have done in the last series of works, or some preconceived notion that you might let infiltrate, you have to wrestle with that. And often paintings come into their own days, weeks, months after they're dry, or it takes someone else looking at it to wake you up. My work process in the 90s and up into the 2000s was really a kind of a one-shot deal. I would have allocated studio time, I would go in, I'd be prepared, I'd work, and they were a sense of really drawing with the paint at that point. Lately, having moved out of the city after 4 decades and moving upstate into a different studio situation, I build them slower. There's more time between sessions. It is literally watching paint dry, and that creates a whole different aspect, an accumulation of days on end, weeks sometimes. There are works that came on slower Works that you let them cook and don't just keep adding paint. I didn't even recognize that was really a finished painting until someone else put eyes on it or declared itself finally to me. The materials really do lend themselves to kind of loading, physically loading and structurally loading the surface. And it's just a great thing to capitalize if you can get involved in it. I just find that pushing out of, moving across, these are the things that happen when I'm painting. If I have a small painting and it's on a piece of board, it is not something that I intend to blow up into a larger work. I just utilize the materials, and the nice thing about the small paintings is that they're effortless in the sense, there's an ability to do 5 or 6 at a time and just kind of sink into them. So in a sense, yes, they are a private meditation. They do tell you something about the rest of the work, and they point to things. What holds the work together over the decades is really being able to look outside, to look at museum visits that I would have taken as a student, and seeing a Cezanne and saying, oh, that's nice, and walking past, and this many years later, seeing how much more is in the paintings. And of course, there are others, Hoffman, Pollock, Newman. Fortunately, you can still sit at the Museum of Modern Art and see Barnett Newman's Vera Heroicus Sublimis. And if you have a bench, you find yourself, you're not just looking at a painting, you're watching it. The exterior world of all the art gets more meaningful the more you invest in your own seriousness. I'd like to keep moving forward. I see them as they are dated in their respective decades or processes of application. As far as returning to anything previously, again, I'm just trying to move forward.